White screen with logo, University of Guam CEDDERS presents. Jigsaw puzzle collage of the Darlow family. Faces of autism. The Darlow family. Sitting on couch from left to right, Robert, Kira, and Carol. Photos of Kira appear as they speak. Open captions. Carol Darlow, grandmother to Kira Darlow.
Our kids are our kids. They're not autistic. This is Kira. She's 14. She goes to school. She has a lot of interests. She reads. She watches TV. She likes video games. She likes the computer. She likes to do a lot of things that typical children do. It just happens to be that she also has autism.
Baby photo of Kira with stuffed bear.
To live with.
I'm Robert Darlow. I'm the father.
Kira Darlow.
I'm Carol Darlow, and I'm the grandmother of Kira. Kira was born 6 weeks prematurely.
Baby Kira wrapped in a blanket.
She was in the hospital for about 10 days until she was able to maintain her body temperature, and then she came home.
Baby Kira
So
being
she was
held while
very small,
sleeping.
like 4 pounds. But as an infant, she was pretty much like any other infant, we thought.
Baby Kira wrapped in blanket.
She had some colic, but other than that, no real problems.
Baby Kira wearing white
She
1C.
was a real quiet baby. She hardly ever cried. She didn't actually turn over until she was almost 6 months.
Baby Kira on pink
We were
plaid
a little
blanket.
alarmed at that because most babies turn over before that age. And then when she learned to turn over,
Baby Kira laying on her stomach.
rapidly progressed from turning over to crawling to sitting and then walking and
Baby
running.
Kira
So she
standing
was
on grass.
walking at 9.5 months.
Pushing her toy car.
At about age 2, she was beginning to talk. She was actually beginning to use sentences. At that
2-year-old
age.
Kira wearing a
And I
pink
had
dress
to go
and
off
hat.
Island for an emergency, so I was gone for about 2
Young
months.
Kira smiling.
When I left, Kira was laughing and beginning to talk more, and a really happy kid. She was really smiling a lot, laughing, playing with her toys.
Young Kira
When I
wearing big
returned,
shoes.
She was no longer verbal, and she would just sit there and throw her toys on the floor, and she had no affect, no facial expression, no smiling, no laughing.
Young Kira wearing
So
red plaid
we were
dress.
a little alarmed at that. But
Young Kira reading a book.
because I am a primary caregiver for Kira, we thought maybe it had to do with the fact that I had been gone for so long. But things didn't improve.
Young
And,
Kira covered while laying on bed.
We put her in a daycare to see if maybe being around other children would help. But
Young
there was,
Kira sitting on chair.
there was no improvement. As a matter of fact, she did not socialize at all with the other children, and she would crawl under the table and put her hands over her ears. She didn't want to be around any noise. She didn't want them talking. And when they went outside, she'd go off to the side. When the other children were playing, she'd be by herself. So, and then she didn't do normal things like other kids. You know, kids bring you things, show you things, point things. She didn't do that.
Young Kira standing near a
Initially,
table.
Although I had suspected there was a problem with autism, it's always a shock, and it's very hard to accept. I think, you know, parents and family expect when they have a newborn child, they dream
Kira
of all
in
the
grade
things
school
the
holding
child's going to
certificate.
do, go to college, have a family, work, and all these things. And with a child on the spectrum, that's not always possible. Many of the children are never independent at all, and some of them have severe cognitive disabilities.
Kira reading a book.
Of which we're very fortunate that Kira does not. So it was a shock. It was difficult to deal with. And the problem was finding some supports on the island.
Kira wearing a yellow shirt holding a banner.
That presented a big problem to us because we really didn't know how to proceed. And Rob, you can tell how you felt because it's largely different.
Robert beside Tajar Darlow.
Difficult. First child.
Holding baby Kira.
Hard enough just having a child, but finding out something was wrong, didn't know how to take it.
Kira
And,
sitting
wasn't
beside
gonna be
Robert.
normal, and had to rely on others to tell me where
Tajar
to
holding
go from
baby
there.
Kira's hand at a park.
Not too long afterwards, we heard an advertisement for ACT.
Autism outreach table at a
And,
Gala shopping center.
That was really a blessing for us because I went to the first meeting then, and at that meeting they happened to have people there that were really helpful for us and being able to direct us towards getting some assistance and getting her the services that she needed.
Kira holding certificate with Robert and
That was a
Tujar.
real blessing, and that support group, I think, is really important for moving forward. Some of
Kira
the
poses
highlights
with her
is, of course,
teacher.
it's always exciting when you see progress taking place, and in our case, there's been quite a bit of progress, so we're really happy about that.
lucky.
And every time she's able to do something to things that we took for granted with our other children. You know,
Young Kira poses next to two boys and Minnie Mouse.
Asking questions, most kids just automatically ask questions, but it wasn't until really a couple of years ago that Kira began to ask questions.
Kira holds yellow and black pom-poms in the
Normal things that
air.
most parents take for granted were really highlights for us when she began to do that.
Young Kira dressed in a fairy
Holidays,
costume.
Early on, she had no
Young Kira hugs life-sized Dora the Explorer.
no concept of them, no interest, no nothing.
Kira and
So
Tujar
it
own
was
Disney's
exciting
Dumbo
when
ride.
She was about 7 years old or 8 years old that she finally began to notice that, there's a difference between
Teenage
the
Kira showing her
school
laptop.
holiday, and began to take a little bit of interest in things.
Stack of school
Well,
books.
I think, when somebody first tells you that your child has a disability, if they're able to direct you towards resources at that
Teenage
time,
Kira showing her
it's very
laptop.
beneficial, because most of us have felt really all alone.
Young
and,
Kira posing with her classmates.
not knowing where to go for assistance or anyone who's experienced the same things you're experiencing. It's really difficult when you see you have a
Young
child
Kira
that's
playing with a
not
drum
the
set.
same as other children, because they clearly stand out, and it's very hard. It's very hurtful to see them not being able to participate in life the way that other children do.
Kira dressed in a witch costume, posing with Robert and Tujar.
Because you sit there for a while trying to figure out what you're going to do all by yourself, and you have no knowledge of what it actually is she has.
Studio portrait of Robert and Kira.
I think, though, his experience is pretty typical, because the parents were in denial for a great deal of time.
Studio portrait of
This is
Kira
very
wearing a
common.
dress.
And no matter how much knowledge you give a parent during that period of time, they're not able to take it in. They're not able to take it in until they're able to come to grips with the problem and accept that there is a problem.
Robert standing outside
So-
house looking toward the driveway.
And that's, I think, very typical of all of our families. Well, I think you need to be around other people who are experiencing the same things that you are.
Picture frame collage of the Darlow
It's
family.
one thing to have knowledge of something, to be able to talk to somebody about it. As a nurse, in the school, I dealt with some parents who had children on the spectrum. It's a whole
Robert and
different
Tujar
thing
standing
when
outside
you've
their
got
home.
A family member who's going through it. So I think being able to sit down and actually have somebody to talk to that understands where you're coming from. So I think the support groups are really, really important. I think
Kira's
it's
elementary
important
school class
to-
photo.
To share your information with teachers, because you can't expect teachers just to know. She's got a
Kira counting
wonderful
using
team
her
of
fingers.
teachers that works with her, and we're finding out that the more interaction there is between family and teachers, the better it is for the student. Every child with autism is
Kira smiling.
Every single one is wired different. So you'll see different behaviors in each of our children, although they're all on the spectrum and all are diagnosed with
Kira and
autism,
Tujar on a carousel.
because they have in common three things. Inability to communicate normally. They have repetitive movements of some type usually, and socially they are not able to interact appropriately.
Kira running during a
So
competition.
these are three main things that are common among all. But some of the other things, the other behaviors such as sensitivity to sound and things, and
Kira standing in the front of her
individual
home.
things, they vary from person to person. So I think the parent needs to share with the teacher
Kira
what
holding
they
a
have
certificate.
found that works with their child. Having that knowledge is helpful for them.
Picture frame of Kira holding stuffed bear.
Let you know exactly where you're headed down the path as far as what to do, what not to do. It's a big learning curve if you haven't been there before.
Kira typing on her laptop.
Like some things that you normally do with a child, you can't do with a child with autism. For instance, time out. Autistic kids love time out.
Kira smiling.
They love being alone. You put them in a corner, they're happy. Didn't work at all.
Kira on the ride at a theme park.
And some of the things that you think are really fun for kids, like going to the circus, going to the movies and stuff, wow, that was a disaster. In her case, she's very sensitive to sound and being close to people.
Picture frames of
And
Kira.
For the first, only in the last like 5 years has she been able to go to movies, because we use the headphones that, they use for heavy equipment and things to deaden the sound. So she's able to enjoy movies now, but we tried taking her to Disneyland when she was like 4 years old.
Young
It
Kira
was
talking to
really
Sleeping
bad.
Beauty.
She couldn't enjoy it because, it's a lot of noise, a lot of people, and we didn't realize that. And every time we went to the mall or were near a movie theater, if she saw the sign, she would just start
Kira
screaming
peeks through mermaid painting.
uncontrollably, and then we'd have to leave. But over the years, she's now able to do those things. She uses the headphones.
Robert,
when we
Kira,
go
and
to
a boy
places
pose in
like
front
that.
of giraffe.
And yeah, it's taken us a while to get to this point where we can be that accepting. But I
Carol
think
and
the most
Robert talking
important thing
outdoors.
If I were to tell a parent is that fear keeps us oftentimes from seeking more information and more help.
Studio portrait of
But
Tajar
in
and
the
Kira.
case of children who are on the spectrum, it's really, really important. If you see that your child is not developing as you see
Kira
other
posing
children
during her
developing,
elementary school
you need
class
to go
photo.
Find out why. You need to find out why. It may not be autism, maybe something else. Maybe they have a hearing problem. It could be a lot of different things. But instead of withdrawing and not doing anything, you need to do something. You need to seek out some help and go find out for the child's
Studio
sake,
portrait
what
of
is the
Robert,
problem.
Tajar,
You
and
may be
Kira.
pleasantly surprised that there is not a real problem that can't be dealt with very easily. And if there is a real problem, then you need to get some direction as to where to go. My hope is that as children who have developmental disorders and autism and such, as the department becomes aware of that, Department of Education, that they direct parents to support groups, to places where they can
Kira
get
wearing
that
a
kind
medal
of
around her neck.
support and help. Because, that's what we do. We share among each other. We share where we've gone, who we've talked to, what's worked
Kira
for
posing
our
with an
children,
umbrella.
what hasn't worked. Some of the things we've all experienced, and other things we're sort of alone in, and we sort of have to work it out. But I think most of all, don't hide
Kira
your
holding
head
a
in the
number of
sand.
medal awards.
Go out there and seek and get some help.
And the faster you do it, the better, because that time is precious and very important. We missed 2 years, and it could have really given her a head
Kira
start
kisses a dolphin in a
catching up.
pool.
The longer you wait, the harder it is.
Credits. Special thanks to the Darlow family. Robert and Tajar Darlow. Kira Darlow. Carol Darlow. Special thanks to the Guam CEDDERS Advisory Council Erlinda Tidenko, Chairperson, Gian Magana, Vice Chairperson, Roseanne A. Dia, Maria Bontagon, Elaine Faculogo Gui, Yolanda Gabriel, Bernie Graycheck, Josephine Guerrero, Harold Parker, Leon Rohr, Marceline Santos, Ben Servino, Linda Rodriguez, Camaria, Sean Nizama, Sherry Guerrero, Script Consultant, Dean Rohr, Editor, James Davis, Sean Nizama, Sherry Guerrero, Motion Graphics, Sherry Guerrero, Production Crew, Terry Fiherang, Sean Nizama, Sherry Guerrero, Transcription, Margaret Johnson, Janika Balasta, Director Producer, Terry Fiherang, Executive Producer, Heidi San Nicolas, Ph.D. Guam CEDDERS Director. Copyright 2015. This film was produced with 100% funding support from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Administration on Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities, Grant number 90DD0014-01-02, and facilitated by the University of Guam Center for Excellence in Developmental Disabilities Education, Research, and Service. Guam CEDDERS. The University of Guam is an equal opportunity provider and employer.